All right, we're really moving now. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. You should be getting some good benefit out of it. I know there are a lot of people out there who can teach these kinds of things, and hopefully the way that I'm teaching them is exciting, it's interesting, and you're picking up the things that you need in order to be a successful real estate investor. That's the whole purpose of this, right? So we've looked at each of these categories. We've focused on how important it is to have a team. And this is a business, and businesses run better with a team. You need to have your team. You need to figure out, why are you doing this? What is your purpose? Why are you even messing with the income producing properties, or being popular, or appreciating? You know, wouldn't it be a lot easier to do a lot of other things like binge watch Netflix, right? There's a ton of stuff that we could be doing. But now then that you've got your team together, and maybe we should have started with purpose, but you've got your purpose, you've got your team together, let's take a look at what do you do, what goes into locating and evaluating. That depends, right? And that depends on what your purpose is. Huge. That's why this is so important. Well, let's just say you're looking for, well, let's start big picture, right? So locate, evaluate. Are you wanting, or do you feel comfortable with buying a property that's not near you? Sometimes that makes people very nervous. I used to own property in Ohio, and I live in Illinois right now. And I had a few properties that hadn't yet sold when I moved to Illinois, and I decided to go ahead and sell them. I got nervous, right? I got nervous that they were out there, and I was worried what could go wrong, and how's this all going to work out? I didn't have a property management company out there taking care of it for me. So it was all me, and I'd have to drive the 11 hours or the 10 hours to get there back and forth if something needed to be fixed or repaired, or if it required me to be there. And our imaginations can sometimes run wild. So are you that kind of person? Can you handle owning properties where the deals are based on what your purpose is, or do you need to have it somewhere close so that you can drive past it, so that you can touch it, you can see it, right? So that's one of the things that you really need to consider, is whether you want to buy something that is local or long distance. Okay, and the only reason you go long distance is because there are better opportunities for what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, I would say when you're first getting started, and this is the advice that I was given by my mentor, start local, start with a single family home. Okay, everybody needs a house, and if you start with a single family home, there's a huge demand of renters for a single family home. Huge demand. Okay, so maybe you didn't buy it perfectly, but you're not going to lose everything. You know, it's not immediately going to turn into nothing the next day, and it's only one house. And so if you can afford one house, maybe you can afford a second one, but that other person is going to hopefully be paying it for you, right? So local or long distance are things you need to consider. Then when you're evaluating, you really need to go deep into the evaluation side of things. And we're going to talk about that more as we get into the tax savings things, but I'll touch on it here just a little bit. When you are buying, you need to be paying attention. And this is why it's so important to have a good team, like your CPA as an example, because you can get into things for depreciation, and we'll talk about that more, and do segregation. And when you're buying, when you're evaluating, you need to be paying attention to the speed that you can depreciate things, and how that offsets income, and what that does for you. And we'll talk about that again, like I said, more here in the tax savings. So when you're doing locate, when you're doing evaluate, a lot of this is going to be depending upon what you're trying to do over here. But when you build into it, you need to make sure you're paying attention to all of your team costs. You know, if you're going to manage it yourself, or you're going to hire it managed. So you need to know what your expenses are going to be. There's a lot that goes into that. The taxes, the water bill, the electric bill. What happens if the water bill or the water is not individually metered if you get a 4-unit building? What happens if you get a leak? You get to pay for that. I've experienced this, right? The water bill on a mobile home park I had, $300 every month, $300, $300, and I got a $1,200 bill. Whoa! Who had to pay for that? Me, right? And then the next month, another $1,200. Like, whoa, what's going on? And so then I'm trying to find the water leak, right? And then I ended up actually hiring it all done, and I had it individually metered, all of the homes that were out there, so that it put the liability where it needed to be. But what are your expenses? How much of them can you control when you're evaluating? What is this going to be? You need to be looking at the age of everything. When are you going to be building stuff back into it? Each of those things. And then you need to be looking, obviously, at your income. Is the rent market rent? I was just talking to somebody today as an example. $600 a month is the rent that he's asking. But he's like, oh, well, I never raise them. They're always, $700, $750. If I had a nickel for every time that I heard that when I'm talking about investment properties, I wouldn't even be making this video, because I'd just be sitting on a beach somewhere. Because everybody says the exact same thing. Oh, it could be so much more. It could be so much more. You've got to be comfortable with that. You've got to be the one who is really looking at their books. Are you asking for their last 2 years' tax returns, their Schedule E's? Because that's what they have under oath, so to speak. They have said to the government, this is what this property is actually making. And then they're going to say all kinds of stuff to you. They're going to say, oh, yeah, well, that $2,500 refrigerator bill that's on there, it's actually in my house, and I put the $600 one in the apartment, right? So it's really hard to get through all that. Side note, rabbit trail, be honest. Be honest. Buy a refrigerator for your apartment. Buy a refrigerator for your house, right? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. You can get your hand slapped. You can get in big trouble when you are cheating it that way. And then when you go to sell it, your books are going to be a mess. So just do it the right way up front. Okay, so when you're locating, when you're evaluating, do you want to go local because you need that? Are you willing to go long distance where the deals are? Do you feel comfortable doing that? And then you need to really be paying attention to the expenses. Are they real? And that's where you really need a good team here, because I feel like the income and expenses on rental properties can vary widely on how accurate they actually are. So you need a good team helping you really understand that. Until you've got a good handle on it yourself, you really need to have someone looking over your shoulder to make sure you're not getting into someone else's problem, right? Because here's the thing, and I haven't touched on this yet, but you find this amazing property and you really, really want it, the excitement and the love for that property will disappear so quickly if you're losing money on it. So quickly, okay? Does it sound like I have experience? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. You need to make sure you go in eyes wide open. How do I know all of these things? From experience, if not of my own, from others who I have led through this process. Locating, evaluating. I've had numerous investors come to Quincy, the area where I am right now, and they have said, oh, Quincy is so undervalued. We just want to buy a whole bunch of it, and we're going to fix it all up, and we're going to sell it, and we're going to be millionaires. And when I first came to Quincy, I saw that happen with somebody. And within a few short years, those guys all went belly up. Had another set of investors come to me. They had the same dog and pony show, song and dance. I talked to them about it. I shared with them my experience that I had had because I wanted to help them, right? Your team wants to help you be successful, okay? I wanted them to be successful, and I warned them of some of these things. And I said, hey, I'm all in. I want to help you. I'll try to help do whatever I can, but you really need to be paying attention to this. And they went ahead with it anyway. In fact, they thought that they were smarter than me, and they were upset that I was trying to warn them. Okay? If you're going to be picking a team, make sure you pick a team that you trust, right? Or that you have confidence in. And fast forward a couple years later, they also, financial hardships, going belly up, okay? Your team has experience in a very specific specialty. You need to lean on them as you're locating and evaluating these properties. All right, until next time, tax savings, finance, management. Hey, I'll watch the comments below and decide which one to do next. All right? So be sure to comment which one would you like to see next. All right, until the next one.